Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to be joined by Jackson County Sheriff-elect Corey Falls. Corey, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's start with the big win. How's it feel? You've been campaigning for, what, like a year now, and now you're victorious a couple days. How's it settling in?
It feels great. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that supported me, and that feels great. Our team, that sense of accomplishment that our team did, we feel great. It's humbling to get the support that we did in this election. So all kinds of emotions where we're very pleased. Yeah,
nearly 80%. You clearly did pretty well.
Yes.
Okay, so you told us on election night when we were talking to you that you were going to reach out to Jackson County Sheriff's employees, and I know it's only been a couple days, but
sure.
Has that begun, or how do you begin that process in reaching out and getting to know these people?
It has. I've reached out to them, and I'll be meeting with their association members.
And, very good.
And we'll start discussing the future of Jackson County, and I'll meet with other command staff and other line personnel to see how we can move forward.
And you've worked not for Jackson County, but you worked as a sheriff's deputy before, correct?
I have.
Okay, yeah. And so, how is that different going from City PD in Ashland, where you're deputy chief, you're one of the top there, to being the top man at a new organization?
Well, the county environment, certainly you're going to be working in more of a rural area.
Sure.
And county deputies, I think, pride themselves on being much more independent than smaller city agencies. So that independence, you have to certainly encourage and make it flourish and train. And being the top person, you know, comes with certainly the responsibilities to the community, to your organization, and to the people we serve. So those are things that excite me and that ready to move forward with.
Yeah, and how will you kind of establish your culture for what you want to see for the for the Sheriff's Office of Jackson County? How do you begin that process?
Well, you begin that process first by talking with the people in the organization. And the questions are, how are we going to do this together? This isn't going to be a system where I come in and say, I'm the boss now, this is the way things are done. I think they've seen that in the past, and it's time to work collectively with the organization and say, hey, where are we going? How do we need to get there? And let's do that.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and we have a lot to talk about. I don't want to ask you about Measure 91. You got a lot on your plate already, so we'll talk about those changes potentially ahead. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Jackson County Sheriff-elect Corey Falls. Corey, we were talking about something you talked about in your campaign is you want to see more transparency in the Sheriff's Department. What do you mean by that?
Working with other organizations to solve problems. A lot of times we deal with the same people. And the best way to solve problems that I've seen in my law enforcement experience is you get out in the community and you identify problems and you find resources to solve those problems. So certainly something I want to do is meet with other organizations, directors, and department heads and start opening up those lines of communications of how we can work together.
And it's obviously an interesting time for you. You're going to be stepping into this new position in January, a whole new position. Measure 91, also a very big change for law enforcement in Oregon. How difficult will it be, at least in the transition, on law enforcement and how they approach, I don't know, anything from pulling people over to potential drug busts?
One thing I'd like to see and talk to is some of the things they're doing in Washington and in Colorado and how that's affecting their agencies. I worked for a sheriff's office in Washington, so I have some contacts there just to say, hey, you know, what's some insight on this?
Good.
I think there'll be some impact for doing DUIs. So that may increase the drug recognition experts that we have because they're the ones that essentially will evaluate people that are impaired. So that may increase. But it's going to take some time to see what the impact is, talking to people in the organization, talking to our partners, the district attorney's office, and seeing the best way to address this.
Yeah, I think we did a story on the DREs just a couple days ago, right after the passage of 91. And I think, 14, I believe, off the top of my head in the county, at 3 in APD, I think 7 in Medford. It seems like, I think Phoenix doesn't have a single one and relies on these other organizations to work together with marijuana use likely going up. Will there be enough? Where will the money come from to undergo all this extensive training for the DREs?
Well, we'll still have to talk about that, where that money will come from for extra training with DREs, and determine if that is going to increase. One of the big impacts that I see that I want to not overlook is the impact on kids in neighborhoods, and make sure that with the legalization of marijuana that we're still able to keep it away from kids, and we're still able to educate the community about it, and it's not in people's neighborhoods being grown where it's affecting your neighbors. So those are some of the things that I see that will need to be looked at.
Okay. And coming into office, you said January 5th?
Yes.
Very exciting. Well, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming out on an off day. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.